If you're like most magicians, you're wondering how you could possibly ascend to the Mount Olympus of magic performers. As magicians, when we watch a great performer, we know they have something special. The way they present a magic trick that we all know and do, it's just amazing. And potentially the worst part of it all is that we know what we need to do to become like them. Now don't worry, even if you don't know what you need, I'm going to explain in this episode what I believe is the key to presenting compelling magic and how you can get there. It's not necessarily easy, but it will be as simple as possible with the tool that I'm going to recommend to you. And hey, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. As I've addressed in other videos, the key to compelling presentations is having a script. Something that brings your audience into this world you're creating for them through the lens of a magic trick. We all know it when we see it, but creating those moments for our own audiences and injecting ourselves into that presentation is the challenge. But if you've been wondering, how will you get better at creating these stories, these scripts, then I have an answer. And it should come as no surprise to anyone who's watched this channel, the answer comes in a book. That book is Scripting Magic Volume 2 by Pete McCabe. Let me tell you a little bit about the author. Pete started out his career as a Hollywood writer, writing for shows and then commercials, before he became a school teacher. His background is perfect to help explain how writing can improve our performances. The subtitle of Scripting Magic 2 is Script Harder. There are some key differences between this book and the original, and I'm going to cover that as well as so much more about what you'll get from this book and how it can help you take that next step in your magical journey. Let me talk about the similarities between the books before we get into the differences. They are both beautiful black cloth hardbound books, approximately 450 pages each. They are put out by Vanishing Ink, which I've talked about before is my employer, so I want you to be aware that I am talking about a book that my company publishes. Both volumes include a bunch of tricks for you to learn and learn from. So while most of them actually teach you step by step how to do the trick, there are some that aren't exactly taught, but you're given the script that takes a trick that you maybe already do to the next level. You will learn dozens of great tricks, everything from playing cards to coloring books and piles of matches to book tests. There are 33 different scripts. There are 3 different essays with John Lovick, Michael Weber, and Howard Hamburg. Now, where this book differs from the first book has to do with 9 exercises that are sprinkled throughout the volume. These exercises are what make this book stand out. If you go through this book and complete these exercises, you will be able to ascend Mount Olympus and join the other gods of magic in their performance environment. But that's enough of an overview. Let's get into a few specifics about the types of things you can expect to pick up from a book like this. This episode is being sponsored by Don's Magic and Books. If you don't already know the name Don's Magic and Books, then today is your lucky day. As book lovers, I know that you're always looking for that next volume to add to your library. And Don not only has the latest and greatest books, but also sells books that are harder to find and out of print. Don consistently finds gently used copies of books to repurpose out to the magic world. I know I've personally found several different books that were unavailable elsewhere through Don, and they're now very happy to be part of my magic library. Let him do the same for you by shopping with him on his website. I'll drop a link down in the description below so that you can get there and check out his current inventory. But check back often because he's always adding something new, and it doesn't take long for most of these deals to be snatched up because Don has such great pricing and offers free shipping if you meet minimum thresholds in the United States. I don't know what you're waiting for. I hope you'll shop with Don's Magic and Books this week. Let me give you an example through the lens of a trick taught here called cocology. Cocology is a type of personality test where you're giving someone a personality test, but they don't even realize it. And then based on the answers to their questions on this personality test, you interpret things and explain who they really are. That's a real life thing. But Chris Philpott, a movie writer, director, and magician, has come up with a way for magicians to apply this to a simple card trick. As you get started, you hand your participant a pack of playing cards, but through a simple process that I'm not going to get into right here, they choose a card. The important part is the card is unknown to them, and Chris shares a great way to do this. You start to tell them a story. It's a story about a house with an open door. They get to choose why the door is open and how far they're willing to go into this house. It's a variation of a choose-your-own ending type of story, but with a lot of intrigue and mystery around it. The mystery gets resolved when you explain how these choices that they've made tell you something about them. You give them a reading, which Chris supplies. But in the end, there's a big surprise because the choices that they made also form a card. And that card is the very card they blindly chose at the beginning of the routine. I'm not doing this justice with the way I'm telling it here on this video, but you're given 3 different ways to make the outcome of this trick work. Everything from completely self-working to something that's more challenging if you're into that sort of thing. The point is, this is a simple and relatively basic card trick. But when you read it and adopt the script that's provided, you start to see the power of storytelling through your magic. Through the 33 different routines that are written up in here, you will definitely walk away with some better magic than what you're already performing. There are plenty of hands-on examples of what makes this work. And in fact, at the end of most of these write-ups, Pete is going through and explaining why this works or how this ties back in with the lessons you've just learned. There are lessons in here about repetition, how you reinforce that as a magician, and why your audiences actually appreciate it. Developing strong and powerful opening lines that hook your participants and get them involved right away. On top of it all, Pete's going to give you 9 lessons where he's asking you questions and prompting you to think and act on your tricks. This is the bread and butter that has sincerely helped me in my own performances. I'm taking most of my tricks and putting them back through the filter of this book because I think it will help make the magic more powerful in the end and more engaging to my audiences. As an example of some of the lessons that he's going to walk you through, he gives you some tools to figure out what's the one thing that you want to emphasize with the trick. It can be anything, but he helps you to realize that it's important to emphasize only one thing and hone in on that. Or you might be interested in seeing what is the most interesting thing that you could say about a particular prop, and then build your story in around that. It's extremely practical, and I'm sure that you'll benefit. At the end of the day, it's easy to see why this book has sold so well for so long. It's practical, it'll help you with your material and persona, and it teaches you tricks, so it's got a little bit of everything. It's a theory book baked in with lots of great magic tricks. And who doesn't want to come out better after reading a book like this? I should add that these tricks come from a myriad of different performers. Most of these are not made up by Pete McCabe. They are well-known tricks from the repertoires of working magicians everywhere. For example, you'll get Joshua Jay's Hitchcock, and then see how this trick works for Josh and the lessons that you can take from it that will work for you. I believe the book is temporarily out of print because of the fire at Vanishing Ink's warehouse, but when it becomes available again, and yes, because I'm an insider, I know it will become available again, you can get it for $60, or you can purchase the PDF right now for $45. I will add that I did purchase these books with my own money before I ever started working for Vanishing Ink, and I'm very happy that I did. The $60 investment was well worth it for the lessons that I've taken away. Scripting is the most powerful way that we can change our magic for the better. And I'm confident that if you apply the lessons you learn in this book, you'll definitely be able to elevate yourself past your mere mortal status that you have right now. Give it a try. Let me know what you find out. While there are a ton of great lessons, and I think you should reread all of this, I want to draw your attention to the scripting workshop process towards the back of the book. One of the big takeaways for me about this is that scripting can be a lonely process, and it's better when you have collaboration. In my own life and work, I've found that I make a lot more progress when I'm working with other magicians and getting their feedback on something I'm working on. So as you go through the scripting process, don't be afraid to get others involved. Especially if you're both working on things together and providing feedback, there'll be a real synergy that you'll both benefit from. And in fact, if you'd like to see more about what it's like to have friends in magic, check out this review I did with another book about that very subject. As always, my friends, I appreciate you watching. And until next time, keep reading.